Hey, how's it going? Havo7441, hello, how's it going? Homelab news, stream hype, yeah man, how's it going? Good to see you guys on this Saturday. Oh, my earplug. Oh, I guess it's normal. DZ decided to stop into Champions Club Lounge this weekend and rocking the black on black, slate black blazer, red bow tie, and a fake Rolex to watch my favorite YouTube content on the big screen. Another banger of a video, awesome tutorial, firm handshakes. Hey, thank you, firm handshakes all around. Thank you. Yeah, this video almost did not happen at all. Like, I delayed everything as far as filming, as far as figuring out, because man, I really had to rack my brain on that one. You know, I'm not a DevOps person or 100% sysadmin or network admin. So I totally took me so long to grok that. Yeah. And you can probably notice in the video, it's nighttime too. Like, I never film at night. And there was actually, that spanned over 2 days, and I wore the same shirt for both filmings because I forgot something. I forgot one whole piece, and I'm like, this cannot happen without me saying these couple of things. So yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it was tough to figure out. It's super complicated. I'm not gonna lie. This is like 301. Most of my videos are 101, 201. This one's 301. And it's tough to grok, but hopefully I grokked it so you guys don't have to. But that doesn't mean that I did it exactly right. So yeah, check my work. So, but I appreciate it. So I had a question, Havo. Today I'm streaming for the first time ever, and I'm using Streamlabs on my MacBook. Nice. Last night everything was lost, like all my settings, overlays were gone. I wanted to know if there was a way to back up everything, so if it happens again, I can just press a button and get everything back to normal. Streamlabs should be doing this for you, and if they're not, something's wrong. So what I would recommend is signing out of Streamlabs for Mac and then signing back in. Because Streamlabs, that's part of the promise of using Streamlabs over regular OBS, is that they back up all your settings for you. So what I would try doing, I just mentioned this, totally log out of Streamlabs. If you signed in with Twitch or YouTube or Facebook Live, gaming, whatever you're using, probably Twitch, because you're here. Sign out, close Streamlabs for Mac, open it back up. You'll see the sign-in screen, sign back in with Twitch, sign in with your regular Twitch account that you use, probably this one, Havo, and hopefully you'll see everything there. If not, something's up with Streamlabs, and that's unfortunate. Hopefully you were signed in when you set up your stuff to begin with. So that's my advice. There might be a way to back it up in Streamlabs, but Streamlabs should be doing this for you because they're a cloud-based service, and they have all their services tied to OBS or Streamlabs OBS. So hopefully that helps. Avo, let me know. Techno, heyo, hey, Clay Crusher, hey, how's it going? Fumosas, haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. How's it going? Just caught the Metal Lab. What am I talking about? Metal LB, that's what it looks like. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's, before going into that, I said that once before, like I didn't know, like I kind of knew that Kubernetes clusters needed to be connected to a load balancer because every time I would provision traffic, it would say load balancer pending and load balancer pending. And I'm like, why doesn't traffic, what's up with the load balancer? And so I started digging in and I realized, Kubernetes clusters are supposed to be, like cloud native or on the edge, and they need a load balancer in front of them in order to do it. So that's when I started digging into MetalLB. I burned down my environment like 3 times trying to figure it out. And all the while I'm like migrating stuff from 1 to 2. And so I'm like halfway on 1, halfway on 2 with like all of my quote unquote production services. And I'm like, living in 2 worlds for 4 days, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out because there's no turning back. There's no turning back. I'm not going back to 1. So, anyways, yeah, I hope it helps. Let me know if you have questions or if I made mistakes. I tried to make it as straightforward as possible, and I didn't. I try not to go off on the weeds too much in my videos. I go off on the weeds here all the time, but that's my thing on Twitch. But on videos, I'm kind of a straight shooter, so. If you see I skipped anything or missed anything, yeah, let me know for sure. Takano, hell yeah, just got the first Docker container up. Nice, yes. Thanks to P Diddy for the help as well. Yeah, P Diddy. Yeah, he's pretty active in Discord. I don't know that I've seen P Diddy on Twitch, but yeah, for sure, P Diddy's he's all over it. I love that his name's P Diddy too. Just such a throwback to 90s hip hop. I love it. From Puff Daddy, or it was who was it first? He was he Puff Daddy first? Yeah, he was Puff Daddy, and then went to Puffy, and then Sean Puffy Combs. Then it was Puff Daddy. Then it was Puffy. Then it was P Diddy. Anyways, I'm a little bit of 90s hip hop nostalgia. Anyways, so this is going to smooth over a lot of rough spots for a lot of my I thought that said decor. I was like, decor workloads. Oh, are they fancy? You sound fancy. But a lot of your Docker workloads like Plex and Pi-hole. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. I think it will. With Plex and Pi-hole, I would, I would hesitate exposing those publicly. I mean, maybe you want to, maybe you don't. But those are two workloads I run in my cluster that I don't expose publicly. Obviously, I have I connect to Plex, but I don't like host my own Plex externally where people can log in. I guess I go through plex.com. So, but anyway, yeah, just be careful with it too. I would recommend that because now it's so easy to create certificates and expose your services publicly. Now you might not want to expose them all publicly. So just, tread lightly or with caution or something like that for sure. Because you could end up exposing something that has no password whatsoever and out to the public world. So, and, obviously someone who has to know about it, but just, it's too easy now to create certificates and expose stuff publicly now. Now I'm just like, I go into my ingress, into my load balancer, just type in a host name, and if I own the domain, 5 seconds later, SSL exposed, public, all working. I'm like, oh man, this is so great. This is so great. I have nothing against terminal and configs and Nginx. I use Nginx for other things too. But man, traffic makes it so easy with Kubernetes. Almost too easy. It's scary. But yeah, for sure. Okay, I did it and everything is there. Thank you, Tim. Awesome, Havo. Nice, man. So yeah, no problem at all. That's the promise of Streamlabs. So that's, you have regular OBS and you have Streamlabs OBS. Regular OBS is the open source project. Streamlabs OBS is the one that's maintained by Streamlabs, and they connect tons of services to it. And so they have tons of services in the cloud. And one of the promises of using, Streamlabs OBS is that you get easy alerts, you get everything backed up, and there's a couple other. And then they have a paid model too. But the nice part is if you ever move PCs or your PC ever dies, or your Mac, you're on a Mac, but whatever, personal computer, if it ever dies or you move machines or whatever, you just download Streamlabs, install it, sign in, and you're back where you were. So, and I use regular OBS, but I use Streamlabs for about a year. So I'm, it's awesome. But I moved back to regular OBS. I made my life a lot more complicated. But yeah, but anyways, yeah, I'm glad that worked. Navy Cop, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Hey, Tim, really basic question, I'm sure. But you have an early video that discusses connecting drives on other machines so that programs running in a Docker container can access them. Yep. Is this something in Proxmox? I need to research. Let me think. So this was probably on my Plex video where I auto mount my Samba shares when it starts up so that my Plex container can mount those shares over Samba and then have access to my media. I think that's what you're talking about. Is this something in Proxmox I need to research? Oh, it's not feedback. My fan above me is making some crazy noises. But anyways, so if that's what you're talking about, I think so. what I would do is if you're using Synology, or you have a share somewhere, or you're using FreeNAS or any other, even Windows share or an Ubuntu share, that's the first piece, is share out your media. And then on the other side, so that's the server in this relationship. And then on the client, what you're trying to connect to, if it is a Docker container, yeah, you might want to look at that Plex one that I have, because you have to create some credentials, you have to specify a mount point and connection for that Docker container to then connect to that share. I hope that's what you're asking, but if not, let me know. I'll follow up for sure. Fumosis, totally hear you. Cool. Yeah. I think that's just like in regard to my ramble about be careful. With great power comes great responsibility. So now you have great power, so use it wisely, and that's for your own sake, because like I said, you can expose anything now through SSL. Hey, thanks for the follow, Ecoa, thank you for the follow. Thanks for letting us see Mario and Luigi spinning. Thank you. Homelab New, good to see you. How's it going? I got my Nextcloud instance pwned hard when I exposed it to the internet. I even had you had 2FA and it still got compromised. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. Like Nextcloud, like I use Nextcloud. I actually didn't migrate it over because I didn't, I try to limit what I put out there. I didn't have much out there anyways, and that container didn't have access to most stuff, but yeah, that can happen for sure. That's interesting though, that if you had two-factor auth and everything, it still got compromised. So it almost sounds like it got compromised from the inside or from some other system, because 2FA is relatively secure. So that means someone was able to bypass that, and yeah, but interesting for sure. But yeah, it's a good point, is limit what you put out there. And I think someone in Discord like today said, hey, I'm going to do this for everything just so I don't have to remember DNS names. And like, just be careful, because like I said, you might expose, that service externally now, and you don't want to. So just be aware, for sure. Home Avenue, source, NavyCop, Home Avenue. Here is one story. Okay, I think 7 years ago, a German CA was hacked huge. Oh man, that's not good. Press F for what? Did you note her? I'm not following there. Yeah. Hey, thanks for the follow, Boss Cross. Thank you. Man, some follows coming in. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. The Chenmax, that looks like a new name. How's it going? What's going to be build today, bro? Not sure. Not sure. Just hanging out for now. Just wanted to get online and get on stream on Saturdays, usually around 3. A little bit late today. Had to take care of some stuff, but yeah, just kind of hanging out for now. Hopefully answered some questions. We can walk through anything you'd like to walk through. If you have questions or would like to see things, we can definitely do that. I try to make, my Twitch streams, if you haven't been here, I try to make this a little more interactive than me just talking at you. So yeah, if you have questions, throw them in chat for sure. If you have things you want to talk about, discuss, throw them in chat. Let's talk about it. Yeah, but hopefully we got some people too who usually can't make it. I know that some people say that, 7 Central is too late for them. Either they're in the UK or Australia or somewhere in Asia. So I try to make my Saturday one a little bit early. So hopefully there's some folks in here that, can make it who normally can't, and asked if I could switch my time, but I work during the day, so I can't really make my weekday streams any earlier. So anyways, Ecoa, we have the same mic. Nice. Yeah. How do you like it? I really like this mic. It took some getting used to, for sure, to get everything just right. And I have a Go XLR too, but this Rode Pod mic, yeah, I really like it. Like the design, the construction, the sound is pretty good too. And It took some getting used to though. I had a dynamic mic before. I'm not the greatest with audio, so I don't remember if this is dynamic or condenser. I always mix the two up. But I had the opposite before, so that was like, it was just took some getting used to. And this one, takes, you have to speak a lot more for this one to pick up your voice, kind of like the Shure SMC or any of those. But yeah, I enjoy it. And I have the Go XLR connected to it, and so that was like figuring all that out again. And then for like 3 weeks, I had this buzzing in here and I could not figure out what it was, and it ended up being the XLR cable. And it was like the last thing I thought of and the cheapest thing I could have replaced, but I'm just like spending so much time unplugging USB, getting extension cords, maybe it's power or something, but anyway, ended up being XLR cable. I swapped it out and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was so easy to fix. I thought it was my microphone, and then yeah, anyway, but I don't know. I had the cheap one that came with a newer set from before, and I just was like, I thought they were just gonna be, just like an Ethernet cable or any other, cable you have. It either works or it doesn't. Well, it's not that way with sound. There's a lot of stuff in between. So anyways, I ended up buying just, an Amazon Basic ones, and it works fantastic. Actually, I think I splurged and spent an extra $2 and got some other brand. But yeah, I was like, okay, if I'm going to buy one, I'm going to buy a little bit better because I don't know. Anyways, Amazon Basics would have been totally fine. But I was like, I don't want to go through this again if this is the thing. Is there any issues running Threadripper and Proxmox? No, Clay Crusher, I don't think so. I think there's lots of people on the internet who are doing that. I don't think there's any issues with running any CPU with Proxmox. I mean, the Threadripper, is the prosumer kind of workstation CPU, and I would assume it would have all the features that most server CPUs have. That's my assumption. I don't have a Threadripper. I'm not too informed on them, but I know that they're like the enthusiast level CPU for workstations, and they have tons of PCI lanes. So it would actually be really awesome. It's a lot more PCI lanes than your typical CPUs have, which for me, that's awesome because I need lots of lanes because I have lots of hardware, like video cards, HBA adapters, all plugged in. And so those things, the more lanes you have, the better, or less you'll have to deal with in the future. But if you don't have tons of hardware plugged in, doesn't even matter. But yeah. Hey, BF Karagdag, this is the new one. Hey, how's it going? Hey, buddy, may I ask a question about JavaScript? Yeah, sure, fire it. I don't know if I'll be able to answer it, but yeah, why not? Throw it in there. Yeah, mine had the XLR buzz too. Awesome, Eco. So did you end up changing XLR cables and it made your life better? I still have this little noise, but I think it's my fan. And I have like the noise cut off just right. So like, the dead silence right there. But when I talk, sometimes you can hear my fan. But that's just me. When I review some of the video, just to listen to the sound, I can notice it, but most people don't. Unless they have like earbuds in and they're like totally honed in and listening. But yeah. So Formosus, do you have a suggestion how I might run a load balancer for internal services so that services like Plex and Pi-hole appear on my subnet and in the Kube internal network? If you were gonna do that, I would just create DNS entries on your DNS server. If you're using Pi-hole or you're using, so I don't use Pi-hole for like my internal DNS, I use my network appliance. Just create DNS entries there. Or if you only have one machine, create host entries on your machine and point it right to there. That's the simplest way. And then you're gonna end up, you won't have a certificate then, but you'll be using the self-signed one from Plex, which is totally fine for internal use. Obviously it's not signed by a CA, it's signed by the one it generated. But as far as like the tunnel's concerned, it'll totally be fine. But if not, haven't done it yet. I need to look into it for sure, because there's a few things I would like to have, just because I already have it in place. I kind of had that question too. Okay, well, how do I get a self-signed cert, or how do I get a cert from Let's Encrypt, but not expose it publicly? I mean, I had that same question. But then like it's, I think, and that's part of the reason why I went down the DNS challenge route, where you use the DNS for an API, because the other one is an HTTP challenge where they actually put a folder in, they host a well-known file, and then they'll actually do a get and try to check the contents of the file it puts there. And I didn't want to do that for that specific reason, because I don't want Let's Encrypt to, try to do gets on this folder and whatever. So anyways, that's long story short. I have that same question, haven't done it yet. I will do it soon. And if I know, I'll definitely put it in Discord, because I'm sure a lot of people have that same question. Yeah, for sure. NavyCap, I don't have a lot of storage on the local server set up and have not built an actual NAS to use a repository for stuff. So I'm trying to allow access to different drives by different Docker containers. It's pretty much duct tape and paperclip tech at the moment. Yeah. I mean, so let me think. I have to think about it, because like if you just have a drive and it's in Proxmox, you can give that drive to one of your virtual machines, like no problem. And then in your virtual machine that's running, if you are running whatever, if you're running Rancher or just plain old Docker, you would just, host or have your data on that drive, and then you would just mount that drive to the container with a link. Which is even simpler than going through the network. But then, then it's like, okay, well, only Docker containers now have access to that, or anything on that host machine will have access to that. So you got to figure out like, okay, do you want to have like, a Samba share somewhere, or an NFS share that, clients on the network can access? And if you do, that's similar to what I did on my Plex and Kubernetes video. If not, then, you just have to spin up something really small, or just mount that drive and just say, okay, well, only this virtual machine has access to this drive. Or if it's Ubuntu, do that and then install Samba on it and share it out that way. I mean, you have options. I think you just have to decide like, okay, what do you want? What's your end game, or your near end game for now? What are you trying to accomplish? Takano, so I have a question. The Omada controller requires that it has its own IP. The documentation for the Docker Hub image says that you should run it using host networking so it gets its own IP. What way would I be able to do it using Rancher? Here's the warning. They say, warning, running with a specific ports being published currently does not work. APs can't be discovered. Use a host networking or something like that. McLavin, MacVLAN, McLovin, MacVLAN to directly connect to the container to its own IP and network. So in that case, I mean, you can use host-based networking. It's in there. You just have to go into the advanced piece in Rancher. And when you go to set up that container, it's hidden under advanced. I kind of understand why they do it. But just when you set up that workload or that pod, you just go under advanced, and then you'll see it's like use hosts network. And so then what that will do is actually use the host network. And you may or may not want to do that because it's going to try to use all ports that it needs. And so, even Plex says like, use host-based networking. I'm like, nope, not going to do that. Only because like, I'd rather, specify each port individually and expose that from the container. And, this Omada controller might be different, but it's interesting that they don't list their ports and then say, hey, by the way, it's easier to do it with host-based networking. Like host-based networking is always going to be easier, because then that container, assumes the host's network, and it's like living now as part of the host and has access to every port. But you might run into port conflicts. So anyways, long story short, if you need to use host-based networking, it's there under advanced. If not, and they say, hey, caution, if you still want to do it anyways, here's all the ports. I would try that way first. It's just, I like being a little more explicit. I think I have one that's using host-based networking, if that. I can't remember after I migrated everything. Even Pi-hole, I don't think I do. I just exposed the ports individually. But that's just me. I'm explicit, and I probably make it too hard on myself. But yeah, let me know, Takano. Clay Crusher, how did you learn about Rancher? How to use it when you're starting out? I was thinking about enrolling Rancher Lab Certified Operator Level 1. Good question. How did I learn about Rancher? It was a friend at work, and a friend at work said, you know, because we were building Docker containers at work, and we would put our workloads or our code inside of Docker containers, and I'm like, man, I don't want to run Docker Swarm or Mesos, you know, at home. I kind of want something a little bit easier. And a friend of mine did a tech talk on Rancher, and I was like, okay, you know, it was like before I was ready for it, but he planted the seed, and I was like, oh, I kind of get it now. Like, hey, I can have this orchestrate my Docker containers and this was before Kubernetes, before Rancher even supported Kubernetes. They had their own orchestration framework called Cattle, nicely named, but it is a nice name because, you know, the whole idea behind Docker and containerization is that you treat your workloads like cattle and not like pets. And so in this metaphor, or this is an analogy, you know, VMs are pets. You know, you name them, you take care of them, you feed them. If something goes wrong, you nurse them back to health, you know, all those things. And the promise of containerization, and where Rancher was going to in Docker, is that you treat them like cattle, where you don't know their individual names. One or two might die, but you know, it'll be okay, you know, and you'll just get some more and just replace the herd. But it's pretty morbid, at least my explanation of it. So anyways, a buddy of mine, way too much context, but these are the things that go on inside of my head and how I kind of got to this point. But a buddy of mine did a tech talk on it. I thought it was awesome. And I was like, cool, you know, I write code. I like Docker containers. I kind of want to do this at home, but I don't know how to spin up Kubernetes, nor do I want to. And this was Rancher 1. And then, so I started on Rancher 1 and I was like, hey, this is great. You know, I can host my code inside of these Docker containers. And then I can, you know, Rancher will make sure that they're alive. Rancher will give me a UI to look at all my Docker containers. Cause like before I was like, you know, Docker logs -- follow, and then my container name to look at the logs. And it was such a pain in the butt. So it gave me a nice UI to look at all my containers and say, hey, this one's in a crash loop, or hey, this one's misbehaving, or this one's just fine, and I can see the logs. And so that's where I started. And then Rancher had an API that allowed me to, you know, upgrade or automatically deploy my code to my Rancher server. And I was like, awesome, because I use GitLab and GitHub. And when I write code, I was just like, this is kind of painful. Now I gotta, you know, if it's a Docker container, I got to remote into that machine and say Docker pull and latest and, you know, whatever. But Rancher gave me an API to do that automatically, where I would just like during CI, which is my build, my continuous integration, part of my deploy would hit my API, my Rancher API, and say get latest or pull container. And that's all it is. Super simple. But for me, it was just like nice, because as soon as I write code and I tag my code and I push it up, you know, 5 minutes later, I know without a doubt it's going to get the latest version. So that's how I got turned on to Rancher. It was a means to an end, you know, like I think most people kind of, you know, kind of get involved with things. You know, they want to do something. There's, you know, like 3 islands in between that they need to hop. And they gotta, you know, either hop or build bridges to get to the, you know, to where they want to be. And so, for me, Rancher was just that hop to get my code out into my own production. But at the same time, I realized like how awesome it was, especially for home, you know? And then Rancher 2 came out and I was like, oh my gosh, like, do I really need Kubernetes at home? And then I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of like living in this multi-mode where at work it's Kubernetes and at home it's not. Like, I'm just gonna go Kubernetes everywhere. And so yeah, that's long story short. That's how I got turned on Rancher. I think it's awesome. They don't get a lot of credit, you know, and I think that goes back to. I think it goes back to because they're after the enterprise market, right? Like they're trying to make Kubernetes super easy for enterprises who haven't adopted yet. Well, I'm trying to make Kubernetes for people at home who have a server in their basement or their closet or wherever, or you know, or a Raspberry Pi or anything, because I think it's really awesome, and it's a great skill to learn if you're into hosting, web hosting, or DevOps or anything like that. Like, you know, everybody's using Kubernetes. So anyways, it might be overkill for home, but it's super fun to learn. So Clay, are you still glad you asked that question? Because that was super long. Yeah. So anyways, hope that answers your question. You know, and Ranch are doing so many cool things too. And yeah, they're doing lots of cool stuff. And then, you know, they just got acquired, which is awesome too. So by SUSE. So yeah, it's awesome. Good for them. NecroVPN, well, apparently I found out that the Grid K2 doesn't necessarily need a license. Hey, that's awesome. No license? Go for it. That sounds awesome. iChoice, hey, I find the storage options in the web UI Proxmox lacking at best. Yeah, I agree. iChoice, I agree. It's not all there. But you know what? It's offering you what Kubernetes offers you. And there might be more, you know, to it that I'm not aware of. But for the most part, they're giving you a UI for Kubernetes. And so like creating your storage options are called persistent claims in Kubernetes. And so if something's not there, it's either they didn't do it yet, or, you know, Kubernetes doesn't support that type of persistent claim. And so, you know, I was real, you know, hesitant, you know, when I first started doing Rancher 2 stuff of mentioning Kubernetes, but now I feel a little bit more comfortable doing it because hopefully it's exposing people to Kubernetes. But what you see in Rancher, a lot of it is, you know, a UI over a lot of this stuff in Kubernetes, which makes it super easy. And you know, Google Cloud, Amazon, you know, AWS and Azure and name your cloud, they all have really good and their own UIs for Kubernetes. And, you know, there used to be an open source one, and I don't remember if it's even being supported anymore by Kubernetes, the main project, but, you know, so everyone kind of has their own, and this is Ranchers to run kind of anywhere, regardless of what cloud you're in. So with Rancher, you could manage, you know, your cloud at home along with your cloud in GCP, which is Google, Amazon, Azure, which is Microsoft. You could manage those anywhere. So, but anyways, yeah. So yeah, let me know what were you expecting, iChoice? Like what would you like to see in there? homelab new. What? Oh, cool. What in InfoSec do you do? Oh, I think you got. Oh, you're replying to homelab new. I think so. I don't know. Twitch has these threaded conversations now. I'm not digging it because it's kind of hard to understand like where these are going. Like I understand where they're going, but most of chat is short-lived. Once it scrolls up, I don't know. I feel like I'm in Slack now. If you haven't used Slack before, hey, half 4Z. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have used Slack, but threaded conversations are great until people don't use them or they partially use them, and it's like, whoa, which one am I responding to? But anyways, Takano, they list all their ports, but even passing them through using host port doesn't work, and it doesn't show any APs on my network. Yeah, so they must not be listing others, you know, they must not be listing others, or they're using like protocols outside of, you know, I don't know. They must not be listing them. So go the advanced route, you know, and then turn on host-based networking, and hopefully that solves your problems. Because then at that point, when you do, you know, that checkbox or whatever, that radio button, then it's just like, it's like Docker when you use -- host network or something like that. Most of the flags for Kubernetes and Rancher are one-to-one with Docker stuff. Let me get a drink real quick. You like my coffee mug? It's Oktoberfest mug. Navy Cop. homelab anew. Initially did 4 years of network analysis. Okay. Basic blue teaming, monitor internal traffic. Wow. Network incursion, things like that. Move to a program support for the assessment team. Less braining, and I'm getting too old to learn all this stuff these days, and no longer shift work. You're not getting too old. You're never too old. ECOA. I just applied for junior DevOps automation engineering job. Yeah, good luck, man. Good luck, man. I think this is right here, DevOps automation. This is exactly that. I mean, Kubernetes is what DevOps teams are managing now. It used to be managing servers. Now it's managing Kubernetes, which is pretty awesome. It's a great skill to learn. Great skill to learn. I think so. If you're into that. Whether you're an engineer or you're DevOps or you're back end, front end, or you don't even do, or you're web hosting, like whatever you do, I think people are, even if you're network admin or anything in IT, I think most companies have, a foot in Kubernetes or have at least looked into it or considered it for sure. Techno, because on the actual GitHub issue, they said that publishing the ports manually still doesn't work due to how the discovery protocol works. Yeah, it's probably, I don't know, ARPing out and, broadcasting out and listening for stuff back, but I still feel like that should work. But yeah, maybe not. Yeah, go the host-based networking route and let me know how it goes. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm always leery when they're like, I don't know, at least when I did Plex, it's like host-based networking easier. If not, here's the 15 ports you need to open. And I was like, cool, I'll do the 15 ports. I'll do the hard work because, then I don't have to worry on a future container that's running in there. If they also say use host networking, now you're going to have two containers trying to communicate on the same port, which probably won't work. I don't know how that'll go, but something won't work. But anyways, if this one's, limited or they define them, at least if they define them, in the future, okay, if some other app calls for this port, just be aware. But yeah, let me know. Clay Crusher, yes, got, was a lot, but I'm still glad I asked. Oh yeah, so this is probably going back to, how did I get involved with Rancher? Or I'm not involved with them. How did I discover them? And it was a buddy in a tech talk he did. And then said like, hey, this is pretty cool. You should check it out, And so hopefully now I'm that buddy to you that's like, hey, this is pretty cool. It works great. You should check it out. But yeah. Half Z, hello from France. Hey, how's it going? Discovered you with the last video. Awesome work. Keep it up. Thank you. My last one was the code server stuff. Awesome. Yeah. I know that. Yeah. So. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. In the last one, I was like asking people like, hey, is this something you're interested in? Like, getting a reverse proxy up and going along with routing and SSL and Let's Encrypt. And a lot of people said, yeah. So I was like, okay, I kind of got to do it now. Like I asked on the video thinking people may, but a lot of people were interested. So I was like, okay, I guess I totally got to do it now. But yeah, but you can kind of see maybe you don't, but where my content's kind of going. I'm trying to bridge a couple of gaps I have with coding stuff and with homelab infrastructure, hardware stuff. Now I'm layering on services, and I'm trying to get these two together and be like, I don't know, just be like anything people are interested in IT in general and technology. Maybe that's too broad of a subject, but I'm going to go there because it's what I'm interested in. Navica, my company uses Slack, so many rooms, so many comments, can't keep up. Yeah, I know. It's funny because Slack is like, hey, email is too noisy and, it's single threaded and, go to Slack. And like, I get it. Like, I use Slack, I use Discord, you use lots of chat clients. But man, yeah, then there's like, okay, I'm a part of 8 Slacks, each has whatever, 10 channels. And some people use threads, some don't, some DM, some don't, some mention, some don't. And so it's like, Yeah, you just exploded my whole entire like communication, channel by like 10. But I'm totally fine. Like in Discord too. I think I'm in like I can't even see how many Discords I'm in right now looking at it, and I decided to put some in folders that I never visit just to get them out of the way, and I still have to scroll. So yeah, on top of Slack, then there's Discord too. So yeah, it's yeah, we are bombarded now with information and communication for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I can't keep up either. I can't keep up. But and on top of that, now Twitch is like, hey, we think threading is a good idea. I'm like, threading makes sense in forums or like long-lived conversations, but threading in chat for a live stream, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, you guys let me know. I haven't used it yet, but you guys are obviously using it, so that's actually pretty awesome. I do see the little arrows to respond. I just haven't dug into their feature yet. I saw the announcement. I saw people talking about it on Twitter, but I haven't used it yet. So this is my first opportunity. So you guys let me know, like the threaded conversations in Twitch, does it work okay? Especially in a channel like this, like there are a lot of topics going on, so it might make perfect sense, you know? The like is, hey, how's it going? That looks like a newer name. Hey, Techno Tim, how are you doing today? Thanks for all your help. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Thanks for coming into the stream. Thanks for, yeah, checking out my videos. I hope they help. Hopefully I'm steering people in a decent path. I don't have all the answers. I'm not, but I'll give the best ones I can. And a lot of times, I don't have all the answers, but I'll tell you, I think a really good way of doing stuff, but always feel free to challenge, what I say, challenge what I use, challenge choices I make, because then it just makes, and it keeps me honest, and it makes things for the community better. Because, the architecture, that I've kind of been talking about, may not be the best way. And there's lots of people out there that are using Nginx for the reverse proxy. Works 100% fine, totally fine, like 100% agree. And there are a lot of people, there's probably more people using Nginx for a reverse proxy than Traffic. I think behind the scenes Traffic is using Nginx, even though I haven't totally dug into it. But yeah, I mean, there are so many options out there, and so question some of my decisions, and feel free to go a different route for sure. Speaking of going a different route, Urukalo, have you tried Docker Swarm? It can be paired with Portainer for a GUI. Yeah, speaking of, man, you set me up for that one. I promise I didn't read the comment below. But yeah, so speaking of Portainer, like I have absolutely nothing against Portainer. If you want great Docker management, you want to use Docker Swarm and you don't want to use Kubernetes to orchestrate your Docker containers, like Portainer is fantastic. Like I have nothing against Portainer ever, because people are like, I don't know if they think I don't like it or don't know about it, but I know about it. I've spun it up before. But me, the way I look at it is like, I live in a Kubernetes world outside of home, and like I've explored some of those things, but like, the skills that I learned at work, I want to apply here, and vice versa. Then the skills I learn here, I want to apply at work. So yeah, if you want something super simple, dead simple, that works and is solid, has a great UI, and like isn't as complicated as Kubernetes, like Portainer for sure is definitely the way to go. Like if I had to, if I had to rank my own personal preferences, like Portainer would be number 2. I mean, Rancher 1 would take a close call. But the nice part about learning Portainer is you get to learn Docker Swarm. And so there are companies using Docker Swarm. So again, it's like, I'm choosing, infrastructure or architecture that I can apply, in the real world. And while companies, there might be smaller companies using Portainer. Hey, the Lycus, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. While there might be companies using Portainer, there's a lot of companies using Docker Swarm. And so that's where I kind of like, okay, like, am I learning this very specific thing that's that I might not be able to apply elsewhere? Or am I learning something that I might be able to apply elsewhere. And but I think with both of these, you get that. With Rancher One, I didn't get a lot of that. I'll be honest. Yeah, it could manage Swarm and Portainer, but I use Cattle, and that's like their own thing. So for a while, I learned Cattle, and it was kind of like a dead end. So there's places where I didn't make great choices, but I needed my code to run, and so for me it was more pragmatic than I am now, for sure. Eco, I love Docker and K8s. Yeah, so K8s, if you're not familiar, K8s is the shortened version of Kubernetes. I think they do the whole like sometimes you'll see internationalization, which is I11N or something. Well, Kubernetes kind of does the same thing, and they shorten it to K8s. But yeah, for those that don't know, I'm sure everyone knows that. But yeah, I do too. I was scared of Kubernetes for a long time. Not scared, but I was just like, it just seemed like this huge beast. So I'm still learning about the beast and trying to wrangle it and tame it. Navy Cop, the H doesn't stop me from learning. It's retaining it that is my issue these days. Hey, it happens. Yeah, I get you. I have so much things going on in my head. Like I feel that way some days too. I feel like there's only so much space and I'm putting way too much. So it's like, it's like last in, first out sometimes, or it's first in, last out. I don't know anymore. But yeah, hey, don't feel bad. Like it happens to everyone, regardless of age. I think it happens to me. I think it's just overloaded with information, and I get I have a short attention span, and I get I get spurts where I can focus on stuff, and I tend to retain that. But with notifications, chat, like everything going on at once, I think it happens to a lot of people. So don't feel bad. I think it has to do with just people being bombarded with information, and humans. I mean, we are, I won't go into it, but humans have been bombarded with information for a long time. I mean, just open your eyes and look around. That's a lot of information, but digital's a little different. And when I mean open your eyes, I'm like, yeah, anyways, going on about this podcast I heard of. Anyways, have 4Z, a network guy, past 2 years now. Now cybersecurity analyst, love it. Yes, so certificate is an interesting part for me. That's awesome. Yeah, good to know. I'd love to hear your opinion of like Let's Encrypt. I know like early on, a lot of people had doubts about Let's Encrypt, and I mean it's caught on for sure. But I know they've totally tightened up some of the old endpoints they had, or some of the old methods that they used to validate domains were not as secure as they are now. And so I remember like when Let's Encrypt was first announced, people were like, can't trust that certificate. Who can, only people who, take money from people can validate certificates, and only, big companies who can call you on the phone and verify you are who you say you are can authorize certificates. And that wasn't too long ago. But now it's, I'm glad that it's being widely accepted. Because that was not too long ago where there were, I won't name them, but big companies are like, well, we call phone numbers and we validate that you work at this company. I'm like, yeah, somebody could have gave you a fake phone number and answered the phone and validated some public information. But anyways, I won't go on. Love to know your thoughts though on Let's Encrypt. I love it. Homelab anew. I'm just getting started in my InfoSec career. Nice. Thinking about specializing in cloud security, and I figure a lot of the networking things you learn at Homelab at least gives you some transferable skills. Totally agree. Agreed. Threading. Give me one sec. If I can see myself looking down, I can't. Let me see. Yeah, I think Twitch is having an issue because I think so too. Oh, now you can, okay. Yeah, I think Twitch just, can you, hopefully I'm live. According to Twitch, the app, I'm not, but according to OBS, I am. Yeah, that kind of stinks. I'm gonna try, you can see me now. All right, yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I think Twitch is having problems. All right, you can hear me talking at least. All right, it's kind of like a podcast. Let me know when you see video back. Yeah, I was going on about transferable skills. Yeah, I totally agree too. And I agree about the Twitch threading stuff. I'm not sure if that's, you know, I don't know. I think they're experimenting. We'll see. Or they're planning something. Yeah, I definitely did not force an advertisement. I never do that. Okay, so you guys can see me. Whatever. It's kind of weird because OBS doesn't show that I'm totally online, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with it. So where were we? Navy cop. Nope. The like is, I'm the person who needs to see something in front of me, so your tutorials made me understand it so much more. My bot is working so much better after your videos. Awesome. Yeah, I'm a very, very visual person too. I kind of need to see something, and for a lot of this, I totally could use, you know, a terminal and go, you know, kube control and totally apply some YAMLs, but I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't need a UI, but for me, it's easier for me to understand. When I see forms and fields and what goes in there, then I kind of understand, okay, these are going to be properties on a YAML file. Like for me, that's easy to piece together because of programming. But at the same time, like, you know, I don't know. Just seeing a big old piece of YAML is just, you know, a file, YAML file is kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna kube control apply. Like, does it work? You know, and so I think Rancher's helped out a ton because of the UI for sure. But yeah, I need to see stuff too. And you know, there are lots of tutorials out there that are just like, hey, let's you know, remote in this machine, or let's just keep applying terminal commands, and you know, I kind of gloss over for those. But I mean, to each his own. All right, so provisioning, okay, Takano, all right, provisioning time, just need to wait a bit, nice. See if it works, if not, I'll just use host networking. Yeah, let me know. Let me know. The like is, a sub is a small price to pay for the support and help you give, thank you. Sorry, I just saw your message. If the sub comes with the message, I see it earlier, but if it's in text, but yeah, I see it later, but hey, really appreciate it. You really don't have to, like, no one needs to spend money. I honestly mean it. Like I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And no one needs to. Just hanging out, being here is totally fine with me. But I really do appreciate it. Half forward Z. Huge companies use Let's Encrypt. It's fine for even production. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. I still know a lot of companies that are just like, it's easier to pay whatever the $100 a year to install it on our load balancer, and then hopefully remember in a year that we need to do it again. So yeah, I think it's been a little bit harder to automate that with load balancer stuff. But you know, with things like Kubernetes or all of these other things that are out there, it's getting a lot easier. And hopefully hardware load balancers, I don't know this, hopefully they're automating some stuff too, or hopefully they're going software mostly, you know. But yeah, who knows? But that's good to know. Good to know. Companies I worked at were still like doing, you know, pay X company however much for this wildcard cert, renew it because it was cheaper, you know, than figuring out the alternative. But if you multiply that by how many domains they have, it might not be. But anyways, Yeah, so the stream, it looked like Twitch was having a problem for sure. Like I totally got hung. I was frozen for a while, but it looks like it's back now. Hey, thanks for the follow. Masha Fokina. Thank you for the follow. That's a new name, obviously, because you're following, or maybe you've been here but haven't. But yeah. Techno, now I'm in a weird position. AP is stuck, adopting provisioning, but needs to be updated and provision, but it can't update without getting provision. So Tucano, I've been in those states before. So like if your container is trying to spin up, basically what I usually do on my pods is just say to kill pods and start new, because you can get in a weird state, at least when I deploy my code. Like, yeah, if you use host-based networking or anything that's sharing ports, it's trying to spin one up while the other one has the port, so you kind of get stuck. But anyways, just scale them back down to 0 and then scale it back up to 1, and then change your method for replacing your pods to, you know, kill all or rolling stop and rolling start. That might help. Oh, but this is, all right, gotta reset all the AP settings now as it's stuck in the loop. Oh, so this is your access point, nice. Either way, to update the firmware, you have to reset it either way. Oh, nice. I don't know anything about this access point that you're talking about, but I love that you're just putting a Docker container there. I love it, because yeah, it's so nice to be able to manage those things all in one spot. Rondev. Oh, nice. Oh, hey, it's one of the guys that keeps showing up on my recommendation to flex his homelab on me. No, definitely not a flex. Like I feel mine's pretty, I feel like mine's not really a flex, but Rondev, hey, thanks for joining the channel. Thank you, YouTube algorithm, for recommending my channel to you, Rondev. Again, a testament to the algorithm. There's so many people who talk negatively about the YouTube algorithm. I have nothing but love for it, because otherwise you guys wouldn't have found me, because I had 0 videos at the beginning of this year that, well, I had some old gaming ones, but you know, that was from a long time ago. So anyways, testament to the YouTube algorithm. I'm all for it. But anyways, I'm definitely not trying to flex in that one, and hopefully you saw that, round dev, because I don't know, you know, I was hesitant to share it at first, because you see all the awesome ones in the homelab subreddit. So in the homelab subreddit, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, I look at that and look at all the awesome pictures that people are posting, LEDs, all this stuff, and I'm like, you know, I got a server from like 10 years ago and an antiquated NetApp thing that, you know, you know, I guess home people are wanting, but enterprise people aren't. And converted a gaming PC from like 6 years ago, you know, and my network is right now, you know, physically attached to the wall on a piece of plywood, you know. So like I hope it didn't seem like a flex, because that's not what it was at all. But I had so many people asking me, I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna try it. You know, and for me, that was an opportunity to try some new things with video too. Prior to that, I did no motion video at all. That was like my first one. Like there's a couple shots in my old videos where I took my phone, you know, and I was like filming with my phone. So that gave me an opportunity to try to record somewhere other than this room. And so, you know, it was a little bit of learning, a little bit of like talking through some of the decisions I made, and a lot of just like, hey, here's my stuff. Like, doesn't have to look as awesome as it does on the homelab subreddit. And if you have something you're proud of, yeah, don't be afraid to show it off. So yeah, so hope that makes sense. Definitely wasn't a flex. You know, even in my future ones, if I ever upgrade or downgrade or anything, I hope they don't seem like a flex. They're just, you know, it's fun content to make for content creators. You know, when you kind of get to show off something that you like or you have a lot of pride in. Yeah, you know, I mean, you could say that about any social media. You know, showing off anything you like. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't seem like that, because definitely not going for that. Not for sure. And, you know, all my stuff is like consumer grade stuff, except for a few enterprise things I have, you know, but they're old enterprise stuff, super old enterprise. Have 4Z, a Techno Tim, you can add CertBot for automation. You can use it with cron tabs so you can forget and renew. Yeah, that's sweet because that's what Traffic does for me too. So Traffic includes Acme with the CertBot piece and will do it for me automatically, which is awesome. And I've been doing it that way with Rancher prior to that too. So yeah. But yeah, I was just like curious if like, you know, new load balancers or like, you know, hardware load balancers or whatever enterprises use, if they're using or want to use Let's Encrypt, if they include CertBot along with that, I would certainly hope so. That would be a value add for that hardware manufacturer, that software manufacturer. But yeah. Ron Dev, I mean, people who talk negatively make zero effort videos and expect to go viral. Yeah, quality over quantity. Thank you. My home server is a 2012 Dell mid-range tower. Nice. Yeah, I'm all for like I've said this a few times, you're new to the channel, it looks like, but my first home lab or my first server was this piece of junk compact computer that I was going to throw in the dumpster, but I asked my manager, not the real dumpster, but in a pile where they were going to dispose of them properly. I asked my manager, can I have this? And he was like, why do you want that computer from? Like, even then it was old. And I just said, hey, I wanna learn. I wanna, you know, install Active Directory on it, you know, and this was something I had no idea about, Active Directory. Like, I understood it, but I didn't know how it worked. And he was just like, yep, take the hard drive out, you know, get your own hard drive. I was like, sweet. But yeah, so no shame in any kind of home lab or home server, because yeah, you know, Raspberry Pi, sure, why not? But I hate the ones where some kid talking about it's time to do some basic upgrades. Let's start with 12 Threadrippers and it's easy and you can do it as well. Really? Yeah, I'm a little, yeah. So I try to be a little more pragmatic and I'm a lot more frugal than that. Not to say one day I won't need a workload like that, but yeah, it's hard for me to make, you know, videos all the time about hardware because one, I don't have hardware laying around. It's hard to get a hold of, and two, it's like, you know, unless it's like a showpiece, you know, type of video. You know, I try to make videos that my mission has been since I started. You know, I rebranded my channel from just like random gaming stuff to me, the real me, doing server stuff at home. Was, you know, I want to make quality videos that help people do awesome things with technology. And so that's what I'm here to do. If someday, you know, I'm like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to, I mean, if someone wants to watch that for entertainment value and I'm going to do an upgrade, I might do it. But I always try to make mine more practical and a little more pragmatic. But at the same time, I love watching those videos, even though I'll probably never buy the hardware because I'm just like, wow, you know, get exposed to different things and stuff like that. I think that's why they do well too. I mean, you like most videos, you know, about stuff that you don't have. It's cool to look at, you know, just like even when you know go to Amazon and look at all this stuff that, you know, you're interested in but might never buy. That's kind of how I think of those videos. I'm Lymanson, good to see you. Not sure why people think it's a flex when a server can be purchased on eBay for $200. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I mean I wouldn't say it's so it's not overkill for what I do. I'll put it that way. Like I didn't buy, you know, a Dell R710 from 10 years ago or whatever, you know, just to have tons of cores and say, hey, I have 24 logical cores. Nope, I have workloads in there that use a majority of that power. You know, I'm probably 50-60% capacity. RAM, I'm pretty close, but CPU, you know, I'm not there, not tapped out. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, one day I could get a Threadripper and probably replace that R710. I just didn't have the money, to be honest, to sink into building a whole Threadripper system. Like I didn't want to dump, you know, $2,500, $3,000 into it. I just wanted to get an old enterprise server. I'd never had one, and for a long time I was just like, one day I'll have a rack in my basement. And then, you know, I bought the server before the rack, and that server sat on top of this IKEA shelf for 6 months, and then I'm like, I'm gonna do it now. So, but yeah, Yeah, they're super easy to acquire now, and they're actually pretty cheap. They're just not the greatest on power, not very efficient. So that's where I kind of feel, feel a little bit bad that I'm using a ton of power. And I mean, it's not going unused. But it uses a lot more power than I wish it, than I would want it to. Divided by Zero. That looks like a new name. How's it going? Hey, I have stripped a Super Micro chassis from 2004, and I want to put one of those Alibaba dual CPU / Chinese motherboards or China motherboards combos into it. Nice. Yeah, I would love to hear about that project. Yeah, I know. I don't know much about super microboards. Like I look at them, I understand them, you know what I mean? But I haven't had like experience with them. I see so many awesome things that people are doing. I know that Kraft, Jeff at Kraft Computing loves them. But yeah, I'd love to know like what would you do with it? Yeah. Motherboard. Chinese motherboards use mainstream architectures? Question mark. Xeon V3, yes. Okay. Ron Dev. I was at like an internship thingy, and then we're gonna throw away the tower. Nice. Yeah, I'm all for it. I love saving computers before they go to the dumpster. It kind of gets me in trouble every now and then, but when I see computers on Craigslist for so cheap, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, what can I do with this thing? And so I try not to do that anymore. Or if I see one on the side of the road, I'm just, or in someone's dumpster, I'm like, I'll take 5 glances at it before I'm like, yeah, I don't need that, but I'm pretty sure I could get it working and, donate it to someone, but I just don't have a ton of time for that anymore. But yeah, I love saving things from the trash, if that makes sense. Ron Dev got a 1.5 terabyte hard drive from a friend for $40. Yeah, sounds like a deal. Those can go pretty cheap too. I know that there are companies around here that will sell some of them for $25-30, like the 2 terabyte SAS drives. But that's only if they get like a shipment of 1,000. But the place where I bought my disk array, he was like, hey, every now and then on Craigslist, we'll sell, 2 terabyte SAS drives for $25. And they're like, we might have some. Do you want some? And I was like, oh, let me know, maybe. And then like he was like, messaged me back on eBay, and he's like, we have some, but my boss said $35. And I was like, that's still like a heck of a deal for those drives. At least I thought. But then I was like, I'm not gonna fill this disk array with 24 2 terabyte drives. Like I need more capacity. And I was just starting to think like, okay, well, that gives me whatever usable drives. And I started doing the math, and I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of hold off. But anyways, yeah, lots of good deals out there, especially friends. Homie hookups, I call them. Yeah, if you get friend deals, those are awesome. Divided by 0, and I'd be spending less money than acquiring an R710 that's more outdated. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, if you can build it super micro like that, yeah, go for it for sure. I know that RAM's going to be expensive, and so that was a huge cost for me. Sayan Deep, gosh, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. So for me, RAM was the one that killed me, and I would have built a custom server. Hey, Rondev, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. I would have totally built, like for my current workload, I would have built my own custom server, but RAM is where you're gonna pay a lot of money. I mean, I have 144 gigs of RAM, and that's gonna be $400, $500, $600. I haven't done the math in a while, but it's not gonna be cheap. And so for me, I was able to build, get that whole entire server for only a little bit more than that. And that came with, 6 drives, 2 dual CPUs, dual power supplies, everything that a server comes with, along with 144 gigs of RAM, and pretty decent. But yeah, I know you can, but when you start adding up the costs, especially RAM, because RAM's super expensive, I think you're going to spend more than that. I'm Lymanson. One thing I wish I did was start off with a rack servers than buying a bunch of mini computers like Raspberry Pis. Much cheaper and easy to deal with consolidated server with virtualization. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, Raspberry Pis are good too. I mean, it depends on your workloads. I mean, if you're running, a bunch of web servers or light workloads, like Raspberry Pis work fantastic, but, you know, then once you need a little bit more, yeah, that's where I then graduate to a PC. And so my take on it always is like usual gaming PC or usual PC. That's the next best upgrade from a Raspberry Pi. And see if that works. And I say it all the time, but like, if you don't have a PC yet to do home lab type stuff, build a new PC, basically upgrade your current gaming PC or the PC you're using, and then make your old one, your new server. And most of the time that's going to be more than adequate. Depends on what you want to do. But most of the time it's going to be more than adequate. And then it gets into, okay, now rack mount stuff, now lots of RAM, now lots of cores. But yeah, don't feel bad. Like, hey, see that little Raspberry Pi back there that's in the picture frame? That thing would have never existed, if I didn't upgrade from it. That guy was running some of my workloads here at home. But now, yeah, it's a new home and a picture frame, and I attached an LED, and I wrote some code, and I can display my Twitch alerts back there. So there's so many projects you can do with the Raspberry Pi. And also, if you know someone, you related, you're an uncle, an aunt, dad, like Raspberry Pi is a great learning project for kids. Teach them Linux. It's awesome. I think so. Anyways, I'm going on and on about it because I still think Raspberry Pis are awesome. And there's so many uses you can still apply them to in the end, for sure. Takano, well, rip, no Wi-Fi for a bit while I set up the networks again. Yeah, rip, dude. I hope it goes well. Yeah, I hope it goes well. I got my Unify working pretty okay in my Kubernetes cluster. That's not to say I didn't have to like reflash it and reset it to default one time. And fortunately, I had backups of my Unify AP configuration. But it was actually a little bit harder than I thought it was to reset it back to default config and then have it get rediscovered. A little bit more challenging than I remember it being. I know when I set it up initially it was super easy, but yeah. Half 4Z, what about energy consumption for old rack mount server? I'm a bit skeptical about that point. That's why I have standard computer stuff for server stuff. Yeah, I totally agree. Yep. So on older stuff, you're gonna spend more in power. They're not as efficient, and I don't think older ones especially were made for efficiency. They were just made for workloads in a data center for enterprises who had money to spend on electricity. Not in people's basements, that aren't cooled and who are paying a monthly electric bill, and actually watching their wattage. But yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And that's why I'm saying, like, maybe in the future I'll build something a little bit more efficient. But my need when I started consolidating everything was my primary thing was enough cores, or so core count doesn't matter that much, but enough cores, and then each core having enough clock speed, and then next was RAM by far. Hard drives I could figure out, like, because I upgraded something that had 6 terabytes before, so I could move some stuff around. That was fine, but it was RAM. I was constrained on RAM for a lot of stuff, because some workloads running in there that require a lot of RAM, and a couple Windows machines, which alone, I could constrain the RAM, but then they're going to page to disk and whatever. And then my couple of Kubernetes or Rancher clusters, I give them about 32 gigs of RAM each, and I have 2 of them. So I was like, and I was moving from a PC that was running, my gaming PC was running all this, and that had 32 total. So I was like, it was a tough call for me to build something and still get enough PCI lanes, RAM, and cores. And that's why old enterprise gear is like, cool, I'll get this for pretty cheap. I'll figure it out all over again in about a year. But yeah, for sure. Divided by 0, I want to turn it into XCP-NG machine. Nice. People bring up XCP-NG quite a bit. Don't know enough about it. I know that Lawrence Systems, Tom, I think that's his first name. I don't know him, but I've watched a ton of his videos. He's really into XCP-NG, and it looks like an awesome system. For me personally, like I haven't tested it out yet, but in their documentation, they specifically say they don't support NVIDIA pass-through for GPUs yet. And so for it to be viable for me, for my workloads, I need GPU pass-through for NVIDIA. And this might not be a fault of XC, such a weird acronym. XCP-NG, it might not be a fault of them. Probably NVIDIA, you know, because they have proprietary drivers and proprietary code and all these loopholes you have to go through. But in their documentation, at least last I checked, probably a month ago, they don't support, you know, GPU pass-through for NVIDIA. So that's why I'm kind of sticking with Proxmox. I love hopping hypervisors, though. I have no problem, you know. And if you've been in the channel before, I've gone, you know, Hyper-V, you know, to ESXi, to Hyper-V, to ESXi, to whatever else, you know, to Proxmox, but I kind of settled on Proxmox. I've even done virtual PC on a Windows machine and then virtualized all my workloads inside of there, and left that on 24/7 as my server. And you know, I've tried a lot of hypervisors, you know, and ESXi, I think the world of it, but you know, it just has some limitation for home users. You know, I don't have the cash to pay the licensing per year, you know, and then they have, you know, hardware restrictions or requirements and specific network card requirements that I'm just kind of like, I don't want to have to worry about that stuff. So anyways, yeah, I'd love to know more. Are you really into XCP-NG divided by zero? Navy Cop, I won't say I don't watch the channels with stupid higher-end gear. Woodworking channels are the same. Yeah, I enjoy looking at them too. But I appreciate the real videos that show what you can do with all your home tech with hopes of maybe getting to that high end at some point. Hey, good to know, Navy Cop. Yeah, it's kind of what I try to keep it pretty pragmatic and stuff that you could do on a weekend. And I try to make a lot of my videos like, hey, you know, I got some time this weekend. Let's check out what Tim's doing on Saturday morning. Maybe I'm interested and maybe I'll try it. And so I try to make mine, you know, a little bit more of a how-to, I guess, tutorial, something that I think people might be interested in. Yeah, and just try to keep moving forward for sure. Trying 1996. Hi, hello. How's it going? Sorry, I'm a little bit behind the comments, so that might have happened a couple of minutes ago. Divided by zero, power-wise, if you acquire an R720 with dual 750s, it's not that bad. That's good to know. The rackable precision 7910s with 1100 PSUs are worse for power consumption. Wow, dual 1100s, yeah, that, I mean, obviously it probably doesn't use all that, but man, it could. Jeez, that's a lot of power. Yeah, I don't know much about the 7910s, the precisions. Yeah, I'd like to know more about those. I do wish I had a R720. I'll admit, I have an R710. I got it for cheap. I wish I would have got an R720. But it's what I did. And yeah, but anyways, I wish I had an R720. When people say R720, I'm like, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But yeah, good to know. On Lymanson, I'm looking at getting SAS drives. On eBay, you can get 3 terabytes for around $8 a terabyte. Okay, good to know. Oh, that's pretty cheap then. So 24 bucks. Yeah, go for it if you want SAS drives for sure. Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, you know, data centers are just dumping their drives now, so cheap. And some of them are even giving warranties with them too. So, I mean, a lot of places are giving 30, 60-day warranties on that stuff too. So shop around for sure. And if you find something, you know, close to that and one off throws in a warranty, go for it. You know, I think that sounds like a fantastic deal. Divided by zero, my FS is currently an i7 6700 with 16 gigs. Former it was a Xeon E3 1240. Nice. Yeah, I'm all for like Intel i7 CPUs. I've used one for a long time. Ramhi, hey Ramhi. Wow, cool. The first time I am awake at your streaming time. Hey, glad to have you. It's exactly what I was saying earlier. I try to make Saturday a little bit earlier. I know that not everybody who joins is in the US. or has a time zone that works with them, even if they're not in the US, or they are in the US, but they work a different shift. I try to make Saturday a little bit earlier to accommodate for that. So I'm glad you made it. Takano, adopting again, looping again. Might just give host networking a shot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But hey, at least you tried. You know, when they're like, doesn't work, that's where I'm like, okay, let's see. So yeah, good to know. Hey, Mattia, that looks like a newer name. Hey, Tim, have you any expertise with Unraid? Recently set up an overpowered NAS with an old gaming rig, right now an i5 2nd gen with 8 gigs of RAM, about 6 terabyte raw hard drive, split them in two for parity. I'm tempted to set up Kates instead and move to containers. Any thoughts on this? Yeah, I do have some thoughts. So, and this might not, this sounds like a political answer, but I try to say, you know, use what, you know, works for you. Boo Dog, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, thank you. So I try to say, you know, use what works best for you. If Unraid right now, you're happy with Unraid and it works great, and I think the world of Unraid. Haven't totally done it, but I've seen so many videos on it, and I think that Unraid seems to be really consumer first, and I like that. I like that about that company and that product because they're putting, you know, people first and trying to make this really super technical thing easy for people to use and maintain. So I think that's awesome. But you know, are there things you're not happy with Unraid? Like I hate to, you know, just prescribe my architecture because, you know, I know that I've created a lot of content and it seems like I'm prescribing architecture, but I'm just like kind of documenting what my architecture is. And so if you have something that works for you and it works well and you're happy with it, yeah, I mean, I would say stick with it. I can't honestly say that I have, you know, a well-formed opinion about Unraid because I haven't done it. I haven't used it. I read it. I almost went to Unraid right before Proxmox because I would read in the forums that everyone could do hardware pass-through with Unraid. And I'm like, oh, you know, when I was building my current new architecture, one of my requirements was, can I pass through my GPU? You know, my NVIDIA GPU, can I pass it through? And Proxmox people said they could. And so like, I knew that people couldn't Unraid easily. And so I was like, okay, well, if Proxmox doesn't work, I'm totally gonna use Unraid. And anyways, I got Proxmox working, and that was like one of my early videos. And so I haven't gone down that route. Like it looks awesome. But I kind of like, yeah, I kind of like Proxmox. I like ZFS. It's new to me. And so, you know, it's really going to be up to you. And you don't have to switch to Proxmox from Unraid to do Kubernetes. I mean, on Unraid, you get virtualization, you get a hypervisor. You could spin up a virtual machine of, you know, of Ubuntu and then get Rancher and Kubernetes running on that. So you don't really have to switch. And you probably paid for a license if you're running it. So it's really going to be up to you. I know that sounds a super political answer, but it's a great question. I'd love to check out Unraid someday. I just don't have the hardware laying around that I'm like, okay, like let's spin up something kind of for real and put it through the ringer. So anyways, long answer to a good question that comes up every now and then. Divided by zero, and VMware loves to give their shit for support on older servers. Yeah, it seems like every update, like at least, you know, they're like, hey, we deprecated these NICs. I'm like, oh great, that's, you know, that's one of the NICs that I have. You know, I think that happened to me once going from 5 to 6. And then I found like this repack where someone like included the drivers that they deprecated. And, you know, you're not going to find that with a lot of open source stuff because the person who cares about it is going to, you know, rally for it or write the code to do it. And that's where I'm kind of like, you know, I like open source a lot in general because there's, you know, usually a community around the thing and people who care about it. And people, you know, take pride in the stuff that they build and make the things better that they care about. And people speak with code and pull requests, you know, and so that's kind of why, yeah, I'm a fan of open source in general. Yeah, for the most part. I haven't, you know, there aren't a lot of downsides to it except for most companies who have open source software, are having a hard time trying to monetize because not everything's free in the world. And, and I know that people think open source free, but, at the same time, like, yeah, if they're a company and you want them to survive, sometimes they have to charge for things. So anyways, it gets into an odd, conversation sometimes with open source. But anyways, I'm rambling at this point, but I love open source, and I honestly don't even mind if open source have like subscriptions and go the monetization route for like a paid product, but still keep it open source, because companies wouldn't be around if they didn't make money, and products wouldn't be around if they didn't make some kind of money. Anyways, I'm rambling. I wish I had a second R720 as a NAS, man. Yeah. I wish I had one. I only have a 710, so yeah. Techno skipped over yours. Hey, at least now I won't have to reset. Yeah, I'm there with you, man. I'm Lymanson. I think you're talking to Ram. You can get them for around 200 to 400 on eBay. Nice. Hopefully fully equipped with a lot of RAM. That was one of the things I debated, like, do I buy it fully equipped or do I piece it together? I ended up buying mine fully equipped, just because I didn't have the time to spend, or, a lot of the knowledge in server gear or time or patience to like find everything individually. I was just like, okay, find someone who's selling it for a good price all in one. But yeah, but if you're, you can find deals all the time. Craigslist kind of too, but yeah. Lay Forband, hey, hi. 8 months ago, I decided to take a big jump and went from being an accountant to a sysadmin. Yeah, love it. I build myself the anniversary build from server builds to learn as much as possible. Made everything ship to EU and spent hours labbing. Love your content. Hey, thanks for being here. Awesome. That's an awesome jump going from accounting, financial and accounting to sysadmin. Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. Toastface Grilla. He's back in the house. Toastface Grilla. What's up, man? Takano. All right, third shot at adopting, and if this doesn't work, I'm just gonna run it in an LXC container and call it a day. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Sometimes you just need things to work, and like I was talking about earlier, it's, containerization or virtualization or LXC containers or whatever, they're a means to an end. And right now, if you're trying to get an access point working, does it matter how it's running? Sometimes it doesn't, and so it's just a mean to an end. I totally agree, and that's why, I do half the stuff that I do right now. It's because I want something, and the in between sometimes isn't as important as the end goal. So yeah, I hear you, man. Time for another reset. Rondev, I love Bitcoin. I don't so much, but got nothing really against it. I don't know, inflated, whatever. Who knows anymore? Anyways, you just spent Bitcoin to buy an Amazon product. Yeah, well, awesome. I didn't know Amazon accepted it. That's interesting to know, though. Toastface Grilla, nice. I bought my NAS gear off Newegg with it too. Huge deals for paying for Bitcoin. Interesting. Yeah, I never really totally got into it. I don't really have anything against it. I'm just like amazed at like how it can go from next to nothing to a billion times more and then back down. It's so volatile. I mean, that's not to say I don't wish I had some, but yeah, it's pretty volatile. Divided by zero. Well, they did that with an older Intel gigabit network on the 82579 family. Yeah, I think you're talking about ES6i. Yeah, I get it. They don't want to maintain anything anymore for whatever reason, because it costs them money, probably. And so, yeah, I think I lost support for something when I went from 5 to 6. And then I think that's when they started enforcing like the home licenses, they even put like more restrictions around them. So I was just kind of like, okay, time for something else. Bitcoin is neat, no ID required. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Bitcoin, like the tech behind it, for sure. The Bitcoin itself, yeah, it scares me. Not scares me, but you know, it's just like I said, super volatile to where I'll watch, and you know, but I haven't participated yet. Divided by zero made me mad, and it still uses those nicks to this day. Yeah, I was able to find like ISOs where people like added their own nicks to it, or there were instructions on how to add your own nicks to it, like Linux drivers. So I'm sure you saw something similar. Yeah, DZ, do you hope to see your YouTube channel reviewing enterprise equipment in the future, or will you stick with tutorials? Watching the growth of your channel has been awesome. DZ, yeah, good question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the future is. I just, you know, every week I have a list of videos that I look at and I think, you know, what do I want to do? You know, it's kind of boils down to me to what I want to do. And so I enjoy doing tutorials because most of the time I'm figuring a lot of this out for myself and I want to share it. So, but will I ever start to do hardware stuff too? In general, I think I'll lump all the enterprise equipment or, you know, into hardware. Maybe if I get the opportunity and it's right and I like it, yeah, maybe. You know, for now, I'm just gonna make tutorials, make editorial stuff about what I'm doing at home, vlog type stuff at some point, or a little more vlog type stuff, but see how it goes. I mean, it's week by week. You know, I decide my video. I haven't decided my video next. You know, I usually make that decision tonight and I film on Sundays, usually is how it goes. So I haven't decided yet what my next one's gonna be. I never know until that Sunday when I'm just like, okay, it's record time. I think I know what I'm doing. You know, I have ideas, but that's a good question. And I'm not being coy. Like I honestly don't know what the future holds. I'm definitely enjoying what I'm doing now. Hopefully it's helping people. And if it continues to help people, then yeah, I'll continue to do it. And you know, yeah, that's, I don't know. It's a little surreal. I don't know how new YouTube channels usually, I have zero stats. Like I have no expectations of what numbers I should be at or how my videos should do. I have no idea because I've never done this before. And I never, you know, you see other channels with like hundreds of thousands, some with millions. And I'm just like, okay, is this, you know, is this normal for someone who has a couple thousand subs, or is this not normal? Like, so I have nothing to gauge. I have analytics that I look at and I can compare, you know, what I did this week to last week. And that's my only litmus test that I have. And so that's kind of my gauge is, yeah, how'd I do last week compared to this week? Hopefully, you know, I'm in the green or the gray. If I'm in the red, that means, you know, I'm a little off track or I didn't do something right. But if I'm in the gray, which is, you know, break even, or if I'm in the green, I'm totally fine with it. So, and then that's not too telling either, because some videos just haven't, you know, I don't know, YouTube strategy in general, if you ever look into it, you know, sometimes you make videos that aren't for today, they're for later, or, you know, the question hasn't been answered yet, or you make a video that answers questions that maybe your current audience doesn't, you know, particularly care about or know about. And so those can do better later. And so it's I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm figuring this all out, and I'll be totally honest with you. I'm just making things that I think are cool, and if people come along for the ride, I would love it. I would love it. Just as I am now. So yeah, that's my answer. Toastface Grilla, also hi Techno Tim at 6 a.m. on Sunday. Got up just to catch the stream. Wow. Oh, Sunday. So you're in Australia. That's right. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Well, that worked out okay. I was hoping I would catch late Australia, but yeah, there's no way I'd do that unless I started here early in the US. But yeah, good to see you. The name every time I'm just like, yeah, this is a Wu-Tang shout out. Viraj. Wow, what are the cache mode that you use for your VM? Just write back. Do you have any problem with that? I'd have to look, to be honest. The cache mode, I think you're talking about in Proxmox when I set up my VM. It might be write back. I'd have to look again. It might be in my Proxmox video. I don't remember if I even talked about cache mode. I'd have to look. I haven't had any problems with what I have set now, but at the same time, my rack has battery backup, and we have lost power for more than my UPS lasts, and I've gracefully shut everything down. So I'd have to check, and then I'd have to recheck and make sure that I have it set right, because I'm on the, I err on the side of caution with that kind of stuff. If I lose some performance because, I have cache turned off or write back turned on, vice versa, either way, like I'm cool with that, because the last thing I want is corruption or a power outage or a hard stop to corrupt that VM or that data that's on there and then have to deal with that. I'm okay, being cautious in that route. So hopefully that answers the question. I think you're talking about Proxmox VMs. Thinking of moving from France to US for work. Nice. How is the job market in cybersecurity for SOC analysts? Is it that easy for strangers to get a job? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a recruiter, but I know that recruiters bang down doors of people in IT in general. So I can't speak for every place in the United States. It's a big country and there are a lot of cities, but everyone's interested in tech, and anyone who has anything tech on their LinkedIn profile will probably get 15 emails a week from recruiters. So I can't answer that, but maybe there's someone else here who can. I haven't, and I'm not in the same, market that you are. If you're into cybersecurity, I'm into software engineering. So but most IT stuff in general is just booming in general. And so, just keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. Keep it up to date, make some content on there, make some connections on there, and say that you're interested or hiring or available. I forget what the actual term is. Sorry, there's kids out here screaming, but that's all I can say. LinkedIn profile, keep it up to date, and then be prepared to have recruiters coming from every angle. At least that's how it seems. Amazon doesn't accept it directly. Okay, this is about Bitcoin. Nice. I was like, didn't know about that. Navy Cop, I have an R720 sitting under my bed, too big for where I have my rack sitting, and fairly noisy under your bed, and it runs. It's like does it warm you up? But you can buy gift cards. Okay, yeah. So that's I guess the way around it. Buy Amazon gift cards with Bitcoin, and then use those gift cards at Amazon. Yeah, good to know. Anything with tech in the US is good. Yep, Lymanson, good try, find a job. Bay Area, if you can afford a good salary, once you get up to 10 years experience, isn't that bad to get 400K and up salaries. Whoa, 10, whoa, can I work there? Wow, that's a huge paycheck. Haven't heard of anyone getting 400K for stuff, or maybe I don't know. That seems like, okay, Bay Area, gotcha. That's where, okay, Bay Area, gotcha. Yeah, possibly, because I think entry people there are making 250 or something crazy. It's crazy, but yeah, good luck trying to afford anything out there. It's definitely adjusted there as far as cost of living. But man, yeah, I saw that and I was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, Bay Area, totally. Lasley Cheer, Proxmox versus XCP NG. Hey, you just kind of missed it. Just kind of talked about it. What do you like better? I'll put it back to you. What do you like better? Lazy Lecher? Oh, Lazy Lecher. What do you like better? What do you currently use? Proxmox or XCP NG? I'll throw the question back at you, because I'd like to know your answer. Takano, either way, if I run, I get an LXC container and then it gets its own dedicated IP. Yep, good call. Good call. You do, because it's you're containerizing the OS. Rondette, have you ever dabbled in building a custom keyboard? No, I don't know if you mean like a mechanical one and switching out keycaps. I almost went that route, but I ended up buying a mechanical one that I type on that I never ended up customizing and switching out keycaps. But I never even come close to building my own keyboard. I don't know if you're talking about mechanical and switching out caps, but close. I've almost done it, but then I ended up buying this, I have a DOS keyboard. It's a mechanical one. And I ended up buying two so I could have the same exact one at work, and I love it. It's fantastic. It's not as fancy as the code ones or some of the other mechanical ones that people have, but it's great for me. It's great to type on. Space Gorilla, it would be good to see a proper breakdown of L2 ARC, something I'm looking at the moment. If anyone has good resources, let me know. Yeah, I would like to know as well. That's a good question for our Discord too. If you want that conversation to go on past that stream, got to promote it. But we have a pretty good size, but a fantastic Discord where there are lots of people who have lots of different backgrounds who might be able to answer that question better than me. Because I don't know the answer to that either. But like I said, if you want that discussion to go on past this stream, join our Discord, !Discord. I'm Lymanson. Okay, I'm a little bit behind. Been talking too much, Tim. Bay Area is Silicon Valley, I guess. Yep. Maybe a salaries one day. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. Like, so Bay Area salary is it's an anomaly. It's totally an anomaly. Yes, it can be done. And there are a lot of people who make, something like that, but don't compare Bay Area salary to anywhere else because it's totally different. It's probably the same in whatever your Silicon Valley is in your country. You have these huge salaries with really great talent, but at the same time, very, very inflated, both salaries and cost of living. But yeah, I thought Israel was new tech dev hub. Yeah, I don't know. Habs4Z, look up salaries on Blind. Yep. Or levels.fyi. Hello, first time here. PA. BLO. Hey, Pablo. I'm going to say Pablo. Hey, welcome. Skal. Hey, folks. How's it going? Good to see you. All right, full reset. Host networking won't seem to work. We'll see if I can get this run stable. If not, I'll switch over to LXC. I thought you already went LXC. Takano? Ikoa, love the stream. Hey, thanks. Just kind of trying to hang out and talk tech with people and let's have a discussion. That's it's kind of my jam on my live stream. That's when I think I have the best time on streams where we just get to talk about all different kinds of topics and people from all different walks of life and interest get to talk about what they're interested in, and we get to see a lot of perspective from a lot of different people around the world. So I love it. Like, I don't know where else I can go to talk tech with people in India, Australia, France, or United States. I have my circle of friends, and then there's the virtual communities that we belong to, but it's not as diverse as this. And so I really, I'm just trying to bring people together and talk about stuff too. And you don't even have to talk. You can just listen. There's lots of good stuff going on in here. And again, I don't have all the answers. So if someone has answers or always, please feel free to chime in too. Because, I just have, my perspective is just one of many. But yeah, speaking of cheap, I can get the dual E5 2689 32 gig X79 motherboard for $254 from AliExpress. Not bad. 16 cores, 32 threads. Hey, that sounds like a deal for me. Yeah, that sounds like pretty awesome. Yeah. Navica, LL, no, the R720 is keeping on the floor from flying up into the air. I bought it early on and then went to a different direction with the rack setup location. We'll probably sell it. Gotcha. So it's not being used right now. Lazy Lachir. Hey, thanks for the follow. What was that? Punk Vlad. Thank you and welcome. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Lazy Lachir, I'm going to XCP, yeah, but would definitely like to know how they're doing now currently in XCP being updated frequently? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Like I said this a little bit earlier, but also I wanted to know your perspective before I said anything, you know, and I said this a little bit earlier. Like I looked at XCP&G. Lawrence Systems on YouTube has a ton of great videos on it. I don't know Tom, but he has a lot of good videos, and I heard his name's Tom. And I see him on Twitter every now and then. Don't know him, but love his videos. A lot of great knowledge, and he has a lot of videos on XCP&G. But for me personally, I need GPU pass-through for NVIDIA cards, and not saying they don't have a ton of great features, but that's my, you know, a requirement for my workloads. And last I checked, they didn't support that, so I'm, you know, I'll look at it again once that gets fixed, if they can fix it. I don't know if it's an NVIDIA thing or it's a Citrix thing, because Citrix, yeah, right? XCP&G, I think is Citrix, I believe. DOS keyboards are great. Yeah, Skull. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think so too. I know there are a lot of like cool kid keyboards out, you know, and like mechanical, like DOS has been doing mechanical for a long time. So, you know, I ended up getting the DOS keyboard, the 10 keyless, and I love it. I mean, it's great. It's not super clicky. It's got brown switches. Feels great. It's super solid. It's metal. And then there's a ruler built into it, which I was so like, I almost didn't buy it because every review I saw, people were like, oh, it's got this ruler built into it. And like people were like oohing and eyeing about this ruler underneath the thing. Like I can show you right now. And people were, and it's magnetic. And like every video you saw in a review of this keyboard, people were like hemming and hawing and like talking about how cool it is to have this ruler built in this keyboard. And I was so like, I was like, oh my gosh, like really, like, you know, you're gonna spend whatever, 100-ish on a keyboard, and these people reviewing it are gonna bring up the ruler and how cool it is. I don't know, kind of turned me off. And it's not DOS's fault, but the people reviewing it, I was just like, if I see one more person talk about this ruler on his keyboard, I'm not gonna buy it. Anyways, I digress. Great keyboards. I think it's cool that they have a ruler, but you know, again, you know, if you ever look at reviews for DOS keyboards, like everyone just like eats it up, like that there's a ruler, and I've not yet once used this ruler ever. Like I've actually went and grabbed tape measures that are in a drawer next to me before even thinking that a ruler was built into this. But anyways, cool idea, but anyways, I'll try the Discord. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, a lot of great people. A lot of these names in here, a lot of these folks are in there too. A lot of good stuff, good tech, good pictures, good documentation, good help. It's been awesome so far. Like can't say anything other than good things about it. So Navicop, they say 2 out of 3 houses in the Bay Area, 1 million to buy. Just ridiculous. Yeah, I've a friend that works at Facebook, and he's worked there for a while. And you know, he talks about like, yeah, we moved here knowing we'd never buy a house. We'd always rent, and to buy a house, we'd have to leave. You know, hey, Pugmaster, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. But yeah, buddy works in the Bay Area, works at Facebook, and nothing against or for Facebook. That's where he works, and it's just, you know, it just comes with the territory. You move out there knowing that, like, you know, you're not going to be able to buy a house out there, you know, which, you know, if it were scaled for, you know, the inflation out there, like, you know, most people in most cities working in IT can buy a house in the city they live in, but not Bay Area. Seems. But yeah, it's crazy. To kind of know, I gave it another shot, but it's a bit funky with stuff not working correctly, managing the AP. So I'm just going to throw out an LXC. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go for it, man. Lazy Lachier. P.S. I never used it either, but I think I would like to know XCP more. Would like to now to know the differences of both. Yeah, that's a great question. I can't tell you the differences because I've never used it. So I would, there's a huge community around Proxmox, and I'm sure there's a huge community around, hey, X Silent Wolf X, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Thank you, welcome. There's big communities probably around both. I would, Google and talk about the differences. There might be people in here too that like XCP&G. I think I think we used to have people who used to. We might have converted some people to Proxmox. Not that that's what I'm here to do, but you know, there are people who have probably gone both ways on that. But I don't know enough about XCP&G to talk about it. Maybe maybe I should learn a little bit. I would know more if I had the hardware to do so. But for me, it's really hard. You know, I don't have just like endless hardware. Hey, Siegfried. Wow, a lot of follows coming in. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Siegfried. Thank you. Welcome. You know, I don't have a lot of hardware laying around here that I can just like spin up, you know, another hypervisor and test it out, give it a test run and give it a fair. Wow, bald bearded builder. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. But yeah, like I said, don't have a ton of hardware here that I can just spin stuff up. I'd love to, but you know, in order to do that for a hypervisor especially, I need some dedicated hardware. I mean, I have virtualized hypervisors before, but not to actually run them in production. It was to evaluate them. But I feel like something like that, I would have to, you know, I'd have to install it on real hardware, and I don't have another piece of hardware in my rack. Got space in my rack, not hardware. So long story short, I'd like to know some of those differences too. Have you ever considered starting a forum site like Level 1 had instead of using Discord? DZ, yeah, good question. You know, I've thought about it, but it's a lot of maintenance, you know what I mean? And not that I couldn't do it and host it. You know, I thought about it, but I kind of like Discord. You know, I know that the content's not real searchable. Threads aren't the greatest. We were just talking about threads. But I mean, Level 1 Text has one, and you know, starting one that's just, hey, Tim's forums. You know, I don't know. I mean, not possible, but I kind of like Discord because it's like easy to jump in. You know, it is an app on every device I use, super easy to reply, DM people, post content, you know, and it's just so easy to use. And, you know, if I wanted some of my content or some of these questions that were answered to be indexed for longer and searchable and on Google and easy to find, yeah, it might make sense. But haven't gotten to that point yet. But good question, good question. New on the channel, what's up, Siegfried? Hey, thank you. I just saw your follow too. Hey, yeah, what's up exactly? That's what I'm asking you. What's up with you, Siegfried? Yeah, what's going on? Toastface Gorilla, forums, good idea. I'm not a fan of Discord. Yeah, I hear you. It can go either way. Like I like it for like informal communication, not so good for long-lived topics. Yeah, I agree. But in our Discord, what I found is people pop in and talk about what they're working on or talk about the problem they're having. And it's usually very personal. And most of the time it's solved or fixed or discussed, you know, in a matter of minutes or over the course of an hour or a day. You know, does that topic need to live on for a week, you know, out on the internet? I don't know. I mean, of course it lives on in Discord longer than that, but you know, no one's going to search Discord for a topic. So yeah, it's just, you know, different way of communicating. I don't know. But yeah, not totally out of the, you know, out of scope. I mean, it is for now, but I'll never say never on it, but yeah. So unknown, I think I skipped one, but hey, do you think Xeon processors are good for a budget streaming PC? Whoa, a Xeon? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't used a Xeon. I mean, for a budget one, I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. I mean, because like streaming itself, unless you're going to game and stream together, you know, you could find, you know, a Ryzen processor. So if you're thinking about gaming and streaming in one PC, you can get a decent Ryzen processor and do that. You know, spend a little bit on your video card. And as long as you have enough RAM and you have a decent amount of cores, you can do both. And so there are lots of budget. I mean, I even have a budget gaming streaming combo, which is pretty cheap, to where I don't know if I would go Xeon for that budget, unless you already have it. Like if you already have it, yeah, no brainer, give it a shot. But if you're gonna buy, like, and you're, you know, budget conscious, I think a Ryzen processor is kind of the way to go. Like the best combo right now for budget or thrifty or whatever you want to call it for gaming and streaming on one PC is going to be a Ryzen processor because it's good value. And then it's going to be your NVIDIA, 1660 Super, maybe overclocked. And that combo right there is going to do, if you're going to do 1080 gaming and you're going to stream on the same one PC, that's the way to go. That seems to be what everyone's recommending. I recommend it too. So, but if you have a Xeon processor and it's already there, yeah, give it a shot. I mean, you're going to have to, pair it with a video card, but yeah, for sure. I think I'm back. Okay, yeah, because I jumped around. First time I had a real conversation, so this is from Navy Cop, with someone online, not in the USA. It was via modem connection. The source, similar to CompuServe in America online back in the early 80s. So it was wild just to be online with anyone, anywhere at the time. Now, cough, cough, now I'm showing my age, yeah. Hey, no shame in that. There's no shame in that. I mean, I remember when, that was exotic. I mean, it wasn't back then, but, I grew up on dial-up. But yeah, no shame there. I mean, AOL was my first, ISP. And so I can remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like I'm talking to someone in a different country or, yeah, so no shame there, man. Discord is so clunky. Yeah, I know, but it's easy. It was easy for me it's an easy entry for me to get people together, low friction, but yeah, low friction for now. I mean, if I want to maintain forums at some point, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not out of the option. I won't lie. I have looked in to see like what are the good, forums. I don't know if PHP is still the thing out there for forums, but I have looked before because I'm curious. Like even when I saw Level 1 Text Forum, I'm like, I wonder what they're running. Like I haven't looked into forum software in a long time. I remember I hosted my own forum. It was like just posts for me. And we're talking like 2005, just because I could, on one of my first, servers, and my blog. Yeah. I think Twitch is doing a thing too. Yeah, I find it really counterintuitive and it's annoying. Could be user error. Haha. No, I get it. But I mean, it's similar to Slack. I mean, a lot of businesses use Slack, and so it's kind of like Slack. And so for me, it feels okay. Which is likely. For the first week I joined the Discord, I thought it only had one thread because I didn't see the accept button. Yeah, that one's a little different. So I have to put, some kind of rules and agreement in front of something. It's just, part of community. You agree to some set of rules. Mine are pretty loose. They're basically just don't do anything, you wouldn't want someone to do to you, be, an upstanding citizen type stuff. And so I got to put those there. I mean, they were there before my community even started because I was like, I have to be able to point to something if someone does wrong. So that's what I learned in community building and other places too, is like, you have to have rules in place, and just like laws, so that if something you don't agree with happens, you have something to point to and say, hey, we said not to do that to begin with, and not do it later, like, well, just like anything else. But yeah, I know it's kind of weird. The whole like, hey, you gotta click the green checkbox to see the rest of the Discord is, it's the new hotness with Discord and making sure people agree to your rules. And but really all you're doing is clicking an emoji. I mean, but I have code elsewhere for other communities where people actually have to type in I agree. It's actually a little bit harder to get in. But yeah. So anyways, it's supposed to be handy, so you can use it to measure things without having to step away from the computer screen. Yeah, silent Wolfx. Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. The ruler and the keyboard. I can't get over it. Like, if you ever Google, DOS keyboard, I guarantee every review you see, the people are gonna be, just head over heels in love with this ruler. I'll stop. But yeah, cool idea by them. But these people reviewing it didn't need to like put it like in front of the keyboard itself. That's really cool though. Mine was dial up on 386. Okay, my first was 56K. So I had dial up 56K AOL on those CDs that were like everywhere. What do you think about Unify end of life, Unify video? Oh, didn't know. I don't use Unify video. Is that I assume you mean their PVR, their camera solution, I'm thinking. I didn't know that. Well, I'm glad I know now because I considered doing it, but connecting it to Blue Iris, I think their cameras look okay. They looked okay. I mean, the only Ubiquiti gear I have is my access point. Yeah, I didn't know. I'm assuming you mean their home security video and not like video conferencing. But yeah, that's interesting because I thought it was just kind of taking off, and I thought that's part of what their whole Dream Machine stuff was, but I could be wrong unless you're talking about some other type of video. I've looked at it a couple times, but I run Blue Iris at home, and I have multiple, six cameras that are just generic, IP cameras that work fantastic, and I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like how generic these are, that they can be used with anything, but that's like with any IP camera. So I use Blue Iris and I use, cameras here. So, and they're just generic IP cameras as long as they, have a stream. I think Blue Iris has like 1,000 cameras they support because they've been doing it a long time. Using Ubiquiti in your home lab. Yeah, I mean, I am using the Ubiquiti network, I forget what it's called, their network server that connects to APs, but that's about it. I would love to do more, but I'd love to do more. I wish though that they had, software outside of their hardware that you could manage it, but whatever. It's definitely nice stuff. If it were around when I bought my Cisco switch, I totally would have got that instead. But it wasn't. For me, it was before IBM opened up the 8086, 88 processor, so it was a Texas Instruments 99/4A home computer, which my parents bought for me in 78, 79, can't remember the exact year. Awesome. I think that's awesome though that your parents, bought one when you were younger, because I think that goes a long way. When I was younger, I didn't get a computer until I was older. And when I did, it was like the oldest computer ever, but I loved it so much because we didn't have anything like that when I was younger. So anyways, I can definitely relate for sure, because that totally inspired me for the rest of my life. Budget streaming, go X79 or X99, like an E5 2670 V2. Okay, so a budget streaming Xeon, yeah. Unless you're gonna go something with a 3600 Ryzen, yeah, that's what I always recommend for budget. Like if you have something, use it. If you're gonna buy, a really good value is Ryzen all the way. Yeah. Navy copy, cool. Nothing compares to the first tech memories with that PC. Yeah. Kakano sounds like he's struggling. Yeah. Just Twitch again. I know. I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eye. I don't know what's up with Twitch, and I'm looking at my drop frames from OBS and it's 0, so it's something up with Twitch for sure. Because I keep seeing it glitch out of the corner of my eye. Navy Cop would almost go back to the era for what it felt like to have a trailblazer, and not that many people understood. It's blown up so much over the last decade. It's easy. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, there was a time even when I remember, it's like, whoa, if you knew anything about tech, you were just like, you were up there, And it's just totally ubiquitous now. It's everywhere. And there's so many facets to it too, for sure. I can only imagine tech got no soul these days. Oh, come on. Yeah. Work Ninja 56K, so luxurious. I remember struggling with a 1440. Maybe apparently I'm too old. Cough, cough. No, no. I mean it. You know, it's just yeah. I mean 56K was the first one I had, and you know, it came inside of an HP computer I had. My first one was like an HP, I don't know, something. Had an AMD K62. Yeah, that's about all I remember. 500 megahertz, and I was like, yes, you know, yeah. I mean, I could reminisce even, you know, and that was, you know, that was new to me, and it was awesome. It was fantastic, and I even remember like I was so scared to open it up too. I thought like computers were this mysterious thing. You know, now it's like everyone, you know, most people can understand what's inside of a computer. You have glass panels, LEDs, you know, plug things in, and they haven't changed much. But, you know, when I was younger, it was just like I was scared to even like look inside, like to take the case off and to look inside. Like no joke. And you know, now I'm just like I'll tear anything apart. And it's kind of crazy. Yeah. I remember I had someone put in my first network card because I was like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. And I'll watch. You know, I stood back and watched. And I was just thinking, this computer's never going to turn on again. You know, and that's, you know, it's just, it was a black box. I think it was a black box to a lot of people. I think, you know, when you had big companies, you know, manufacturing PCs and shipping them to people's houses, and there weren't any custom builds going on, you know, that's how it was. I feel like for a large population of people, for me especially. But once I saw my friend put in the network card, there was no turning back. I was like, that's all you had to do, you know, 2 screws and pop a card in, and you know, it's history from there. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, I'm rambling about my good old days. What is going on with Twitch? Twitch is having some problems for sure. Like even my I can't even scroll my chat. Whatever, Twitch. Are my messages annoying? Verge. I'm trying to scroll up to see what your messages are. They aren't annoying to me. Oh, I guess so. I did skip one, so I apologize. Verge AJ. What I think of Proxmox documentation, it seems to be quite lacking in my opinion. So I'll go back to that one, and I can speak to this personally. I agree. So I agree. And I don't want to say anything. I don't want to upset anybody that may work at Proxmox. Hopefully I don't. But I think this is fair feedback and criticism for them. And hopefully they treat it like feedback. But my initial impression of Proxmox when I went to it was kind of that too. It was lacking in documentation. They had some wikis. And it seemed like, and I'm just saying this like, again, I have nothing to do with Proxmox. I'm a consumer. I'm a person on the internet looking for answers. And what I found on Proxmox forums, I was a little bit disheartened. Because a lot of the times that Proxmox didn't have things documented at all. Or they had it in a wiki. And people would add questions. And a lot of the times their answer was, it seemed really snarky. And it just seemed to be like, buy a subscription. And that kind of turned me off to Proxmox in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. And maybe those people that were always there aren't there anymore, or maybe they changed their tune. But I always felt like if anybody had any problems, that their answer was buy a subscription, use a subscription, support, and ask us this question. And that kind of turned me off. I'm not going to lie. I'm being totally honest. And so I found my way around, and I was just like, okay, not asking a question here. I will never ask a question here because I just didn't feel welcoming to me. And I don't know if you guys felt like that when you go to Proxmox, but I felt like that. I was just like, I'm not going to ask any questions here. Like, this doesn't seem like a great like community builder, whoever this moderator is, if they're even a moderator. I mean, they have a logo in their name. So I won't go off on a tangent because I get it. At the end of the day, open source needs to make money. I get it. But like, if you have community forums, and it's an open source product and people ask questions, I feel like, that, and maybe that person is having a bad day. Maybe that person has answered that question many, many times before. But I just kind of, I don't know. At first I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to ask anything. So anyways, that doesn't say anything against the product. Again, you could have, moderators who, that aren't great community builders. The moderator could be the CFO. You know what I mean? For all we know, who knows? I have no idea. The moderator could be, an engineer who's writing the code and it's just like, oh my gosh, someone's asking this question again. And so all they have time to answer is like, hey, like sometimes answers cost money. And so, get a subscription and we'll answer it. I felt like that to me, didn't seem like the community that I thought it was when I first joined. I'm speaking off the cuff, I'll be totally honest. So for JJ, great question. I'm sorry I skipped over. It wasn't because I don't like you, it's just because I didn't see it. And for some reason on Twitch, when I scroll up, I don't know if it's the threading, like my text keeps jumping down. So anyways, so that was me 2 years ago. That was forums 2 years ago. What I have seen though, which is, I think a move in the right direction. I think that Proxmox is starting to seem more open to consumers. I don't know. I feel like there's kind of been a change lately because I feel like in the 5X days when I started, I feel like, updating your Proxmox server in the 5X range, you never knew if it was going to come up again. You're like, I'm not going to update it. Totally not going to touch it. I'm not going to ask any questions because they're either going to tell me to buy a subscription or get mad at me because I didn't post, the right stuff, or I didn't search all the forums first. I mean, all the typical things that a lot of, communities have to do. But fast forward to 6, I feel like there's kind of been this change where so I feel like the forums have gotten nicer. Maybe that's because more people are using it. Maybe that's because more community members like us could probably help out and answer those questions if we know the answers. But then also, I feel like their updates too have gotten a lot more stable. Because like now with 6, I'm like, Proxmox new update? Sure, go for it. Like, let's fire it off, let's do this. Like, I know it's gonna be good. 5X days, I bricked my Proxmox server 2-3 times. I'm like, I'm never doing this again, And so I don't know. So this is all anecdotal. This is all anecdotal. This is me, one person on the internet, searching for answers. And so that was my experience. And so Verge JJ or Viraj, like maybe that was your experience too, or maybe it wasn't. So I'm not talking bad about Proxmox. Like, I love it. You guys know I love it. I mean, I wouldn't make videos about a product I didn't believe in or love or, use every day. But, my initial impression, it just seemed like kind of standoffish, and I'm like, hey, I'm a consumer who wants to use your software. And I get it. They need to make money. I'll say that all day long. Like, companies, if they're not making money, they just don't survive. You have to monetize something. But yeah. Anyways, I don't know if that's what you're going for, Viraj. That was kind of my experience in the beginning. So, but I did kind of. So yes, I think their documentation is lacking. Their documentation is just a wiki. And so wikis are great at, wikis are just a digital encyclopedia, Did the encyclopedia tell you step by step of how to do something? No, it explained topics and, it explained, theories, and it explained terms. And I don't think, I think there's a place for a wiki, but I also think there's a place for, how you actually implement some of this stuff. So, I'm trying to do that myself, as I learn. So, but I don't think that wikis are the only answer. So anyways, yeah, so I just went on a long rant about that. Hopefully it wasn't totally a rant, but yeah, for sure. I have felt that, Proxmox could use some more documentation. And if their community's open and they allow people to create topics, or wikis can get pull requests or requests for edits, this is on all of us, you know what I mean? So if I would suggest that if you see documentation out of place, something that needs more explanation, not sure how the wiki's set up, but I mean, maybe we can add to it. Maybe that's something we can help change. I mean, these are part of contributions to open source that a lot of projects need. Everybody, in the past, and maybe it's not that way now, I know GitHub's doing a better way of promoting this, and I've said this for a long time too, that open source software, contributing to an open source project doesn't just mean contributing code. Contributing to open source projects means contributing to the project in any way that you can. That might be writing better documentation. That might be help with issues, explaining issues, or organizing issues, or referencing issues, or answering questions. Writing documentation, being in the forums, and being a member of that community. So, and maybe Proxmox needs some help. I don't know the answer to that, but I've said it for a long time. I do write code. I try to contribute when I can to things that I understand. Wicked Sunny, hey, thanks so much for the follow. But contributions to open source are more than just code. It's all of those things. And so yeah, sorry, I'm kind of maybe I'm going a little bit too far off in the weeds, but it's kind of how I feel. So man, I yacked for a long time, didn't I? Nothing like waiting too long. Kids, bulletin board system that he's running on a Commodore 150 baud modem, watching the screen build by itself line by line while you wait. Navy Cop. Hey, my first computer was a Commodore 64. Like, they were totally obsolete at the time, but that was my first computer, and I loved it because it had a keyboard and it had a screen and it had floppy disks. And like, people had PCs at the time, but we couldn't really afford it, so we found a Commodore 64, and it may as well have been the best PC ever. And I loved it so much, just because, it, like I said, had a screen, had a keyboard, and I could tinker all day long. And I even wrote my own tiny little programs, like choose your own adventure stuff in just words, because it was just something to do. But yeah, lesson learned when I was younger, don't bring P166 to a UT99 LAN party. Oh man. Takano, man, still struggling. 2 minutes and it's already starting up. Just wget dev file dpkg to install. Appfix broken. Now it's starting up. Nice. Scala, in fairness, dozen daughter boards and older systems did make it more daunting than it is now. That's true. That's true. I remember daughter boards. There were like these adapters that went inside of. Yeah. Now you say that, I remember it. My first one didn't have it, but I remember seeing them in older PCs too, or older computers. And I discussed Proxmox methods of handling ISOs. Yeah, I don't want to be a pile-on about Proxmox, and maybe maybe I went a little bit too far about my experience. Like, I definitely don't want to pile on, but I think if it's open source and there and we want to see some change, then we should help change. If we're a community member and it's software that we care about, I mean, we have the power to do stuff too. So I don't want to put it all on them, because like I said, mine is anecdotal. It was my first experience with Proxmox. You go there for answers, and I just didn't see what I was expecting. It wasn't like what I saw on GitHub, which I think has a mostly pretty positive community around it in general. Most software projects that I see on there. I mean, obviously people get tired of asking the same question, as anyone does. I mean, if anyone asks you the same question over and over, on the 10th time, you're going to say, hey, it's here, or not answer it. But yeah. And now, well, yeah, it's been working pretty well. It's kind of nice. Viraj, yeah, after I plan a disaster recovery plan, I can finally move on thinking about what I do next instead of worrying about losing my data. I moved from Unraid to Proxmox because they have the graph, but the learning curve may be a little steep. Yeah, I think I've said this before, but I think Unraid's a great company, great product. They seem to be super consumer first, and it's awesome. They're tapping into an enthusiast market. of tech people who want to do awesome stuff with software, but they're leading the charge on consumer first, and it's awesome. Pugmaster, can I join the Discord server? Absolutely. You don't even need to ask. You can use !Discord, or you can in my panels down in Twitch. If you go to About, I don't know how Twitch lays it out when I'm live because I rarely see that screen. I have Discord links down there, but otherwise !Discord also works. Wicked Sunny, hey, hey Tim. Thank you for all the video and the work you put out there. Yeah, I've been very impressed by your videos. Thank you. You have a way of teaching that just makes you want to learn. Well, thank you. Thanks. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I try to put myself in the perspective of someone who knows very little about what I'm talking about. So I've had to do some, speaking before at conferences, not big ones, like internal enterprise ones, and some around here in the cities. And I don't know. I try to put myself in the shoes of the audience, and sometimes you don't know your audience at all. With Tech Talks, you kind of do, because you're like, hey, I'm doing a Tech Talk, and then people show up, and you're like, okay, these are the people who care and know about this thing. YouTube's a little bit different, so I'm trying to gauge, and see if my efforts are successful in teaching. So I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I never know how far down the rabbit hole to go, but I think I'm figuring out. Loving everyone's home labs in the Discord. Toastface Grilla, yeah, good to, hey, see Discord's working for you. You can just scroll with your thumb now instead of forums. I don't know how forums work on mobile, because I don't think I've ever looked at a forum on mobile, but probably because I'm not a member of a ton of them. If Google puts me on a forum, then yeah, I guess so. But like, I'm not a member of any one specific forum where I go back and check stuff. But yeah, people have some good stuff there. Good stuff. And you do definitely see how cheap some people get power, or how much they pay for power, because people like to talk about how much they pay per kilowatt hour in our Discord. I love seeing it. It's great. It's great. Navy Cowboy, you're in Australia. Awesome Discord. Thanks for sending out that link. Eastern suburbs. Awesome. Well, hey guys, I gotta probably call it quits here in a little bit. I gotta check out something else too. But I think I'm a little bit over my normal time, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Man, thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for, chatting about stuff. I can't say enough good things about this. This is really awesome, and I really appreciate it. And I just want to, say thank you. If you have any questions, as most of you know, I'm in, I try to be present in Discord when I can. There are times when I can't, but when I'm not, there are lots of people in there who can help you with whatever you're going through, or whatever problems you might be having. We got an awesome community in there, so I encourage you to join if you can. I will be back on Tuesday, so my normal, if you're new here, it's Tuesday and Thursday, 7 Central, and then it is 3 Central on Saturday. So really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Really appreciate it. Man, there's lots of comments coming in. I would love to address them all, but I'm totally gonna sign off here for a little bit. But thank you for answering my questions. Yeah, thank you for throwing them at me, because like I usually say in all of my streams, I try to address every question I have. I might get a little bit behind on chat, but I try to catch up. And I appreciate you for asking them, because I know sometimes it's kind of hard to ask questions. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna sign off now. Thank you so much. Have a good night and take care. See you later.